Hi guys, it's Alan. Again, targeted individual Alan here. And I was thinking a little bit, and I did a little bit of research on some of the history of informed consent. And, when you go to the doctor, and if you're going to get an operation or a medicine, they inform you, we're going to try this route or this medication. Here's some of the potential risks, or they let you know what they're going to do and what the sickness that you have, that they think you have, what it is, what it entails, and the treatment, what are the pros and cons of it, that kind of thing. And some of the history of it really, what is known as what kind of started it off was when you hear of Walter Reed Hospital in Washington, D.C., I guess, named after this an army surgeon, a doctor, scientist, I guess, too, from I want to say the word bacteriology, but it's probably I forget the technical term, but studying bacteria and making anyway, it's probably not the right correct term, but it escapes me. Anyway, Walter Reed, over 100 years ago, around the turn of the century, 1900, was, and of all places, we're talking about Havana, Cuba, Havana syndrome and all that. It's almost like it's come around full circle, because Havana syndrome is about Havana, Cuba, and informed consent really became a real issue with Walter Reed when they were coming up with yellow fever. And the doctor there, I forget his name, thought it was from mosquitoes. Other people thought it was from stuff on the linens, bad hygiene, bad, dirty linens, our mucus and poop and pee and sperm or whatever, just mucus, dirty linens, clothes getting around that way. But then the Cuban doctor thought it was mosquitoes. Now, Walter Reed was a pretty smart cookie, just a smart surgeon. And he was trying to figure out different, almost like pandemics in its day. It was yellow fever, and it was getting thousands of people and soldiers. And this is during the Spanish-American War. And so he went down, he was trying to figure it out there in, of all places, Havana, Cuba. Like we're talking about Havana syndrome. And again, if you're a target individual, you know what that is. You know what Havana syndrome is. It's just our government's attempt at an alibi to blame it on another country. I mean, I'm not saying FBI aren't getting attacked. They may very well be, because when you're a TI, you know this stuff is real because you're having it done to yourself. You get hit in the heart or the head. But this was being done in Havana, Cuba. And it's weird because Walter Reed, his dad was a missionary, I believe a Methodist evangelist. His brother was a minister. He had another brother that was a judge. And so his dad was a minister, very religious. And but in order to be part of this study, he started giving it to some of this I read on Wikipedia, by the way. Started giving it to people bilingual, whether they knew like how much English or whatever. Anyway, they got like 200 shekels of gold, almost over a whole year's pay to if they get themselves involved in this study. So they even got paid for it. And if they got contacted the disease, and they got like 200 shekels, over a year's salary to participate in this. They didn't get informed consent. They weren't told how deadly it was. They weren't told all the pros and cons, because some of them didn't even speak English. And if you're a soldier and you're participating in this, then it almost feels like a compulsion, like it's an order. Like you'll get, not just you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. No bad thing. If you say no. The pressure was on. Anyway, after this study, and he came up and agreed, and thousands. And over the years since then, hundreds of thousands have died, and their families and offspring have suffered because of it. by being part of this study and giving it to their wives and their kids. So that kind of, even though Walter Reed was one of the ones that started this and gave it to people, and he saw them suffer, these are human lives, just like you or me, living their life, having to live their life and try to not live in pain. But when your government views you as a guinea pig, and they don't even think you deserve the 200 shekels. They just want to do it secretly and not tell you or tell anybody. You're not even worthy of that. They would just rather not talk about it and act like they're very religious still. And that's where we're at now, because now it's, anyway, Walter Reed started saying maybe we should be more informed consent. When we get people in on these medicines or these trials and military technology, directed energy weapons and all this, maybe they should know. And it shouldn't be just their parents. Like I say, the kids should know, and they shouldn't be even part of it when they're kids. And it's still being done today. I was just reading how the NIH, it was under Francis Collins, and before him it was Fauci, Dr. Fauci. But it was just like, one of the studies I had read was involving 1,300 premature babies. And one of the studies was to see what babies, and I loved Francis Collins because he was a Christian apologist, defender of Christianity, putting a rational face on faith. So he was intriguing, extremely smart, one of the main person in the Human Genome Project, so the top notch in science in that field. The battle between him and his team versus Craig Venter and his team. And anyway, impressive. And he's just a likable person. He plays guitar, does his little singing, and religious, and he's just a likable person. Then you find out under that tutelage, there's the study again where 1,300, I think it was University of Alabama or Alabama State or something, where 1,300 premature babies were given false doses of oxygen, some too low and some was too much oxygen intentionally. And they even changed the settings on the equipment at the hospital so that it looked like the right amount, so that if the nurse or doctor looked at the O2 stats, it looked normal. But what they didn't know is that the NIH was purposely giving these premature babies a lesser amount, and some were given too. I mean, these are babies just born and underweight. And they're already just babies, and they are forced to struggle for every breath. And the NIH decides, let's experiment. Let's see how many die. You know, how long they can survive before they die. And the parents weren't told, obviously, who the babies, they're babies. They, you know. And the medical ethicists were outraged. Well, who wouldn't be? Can you imagine being a parent and your doctor does that to you? Your child, you're going through enough stress. You have a preemie. And then to find your baby dies and you find out they didn't have to. And then you find out that the doctors weren't telling them they were part. I mean, they did tell some of them, but they said it was a simple thing and it wasn't part of the study and it won't affect anything about their birth weight or their death or their survival statistics. This action, they had this bullshit answer. Like, they weren't talking about the higher or lower amounts of oxygen or that the machines were calculated falsely to give a false reading. They weren't told any of this. They were just so, yeah, everything's fine. It has nothing to do with, whether they live or die. I mean, it's just a study that has nothing to do. That's what comforts the parents, I guess, bullshitting wise. But they were purposely in this study trying to figure out the rate of death and how long they could survive, premature babies. And, whether incubators or just, and I am amazed when a person, whether Fauci, it doesn't matter whether it's Catholic or Protestant, when a doctor can do this to an adult, can do this to a baby. That's a human being that was, Francis Collins was once a baby. His children were once babies. I couldn't imagine any doctor when they were babies or their children having another doctor do that to them and think it's fine, think it's okay. I can't imagine. And they can talk about religion. You might as well call them a Satanist, but I think it's putting a bad mark on Satanism. Because for all the Satanists, normally they just mean teenagers that do drugs and listen to rock music and might get violent once in a while. There's nothing more evil than knowingly taking a person to experiment on them, to torture them daily, and then claim to do it and then do it under the guise of Christianity. And especially to someone, like in my case, I studied to be a Christian minister. They were doing this to me in high school, in Bible college. And they want to see how you react, your beliefs. If you have something in your background, they can use it as blackmail. I never hurt anybody. There's nothing in there's some embarrassing things, like you're a teenager and went jacket off to hee-haw or something. But there's nothing where I hurt anybody. Nothing. There's nothing where I knowingly scammed anybody or did something. And I think I got drunk once, and a friend had to come and get me at 3 a.m. Because, anyway, that was, even then I thought I was doing the right thing by not getting in an argument with somebody, a girlfriend. So I decided to go out and by myself and have 8 or 9 beers and not get in a fight or an argument. But then I came in and started getting sick. So I sat in the car and then had to get the father. And then he had to come and give me a ride. It wasn't arguments or yelling. It was just me getting too drunk and then getting sick and vomiting. And anyway, it's embarrassing. And somebody had to come and give me a ride home. There wasn't so they were nice people. They forgave me. But that's the worst thing I had ever done. If that's, but nobody got hurt except he had to come and give me a lift. Nothing to blackmail me. But I hear it with my V2K. They're always checking to see either my vital signs or there's no change. There's no change. Like they can tell from 35 years, 36 years, 37, of directed energy weapons hitting me in the heart. Right here, right in the heart, right here, right up, like I always point to. And trying to see, and I didn't know for 30 years. I just knew I was always in pain and I felt very little emotion. It didn't matter, a tremendous good thing I could, or a bad thing. There wasn't a lot of fluctuation, And then you read Robert Duncan's. Let me get that real quick. Robert Duncan's book describes this, and I can say, I was studying, my main thing is I kept on studying Christianity and theology and apologetics for all those years. And just studying it. And I was wondering why my heart, literally the organ, I was always in pain right here. And I thought, well, maybe I was stressed out by studying Christianity and my doubts. And I was trying to follow it too much and it got stressed. And, I didn't know. Nobody told me what it was. In fact, I thought, well, maybe it was too much losing my identity in Christianity. He must increase, I must decrease. I didn't know what it was. But anyway, I put my little notes down and, my thing like this where Jesus is there and you're losing your identity. He must increase, I must decrease, and things like that. And I didn't know this whole thing is something I put together. I didn't show anybody, but these little notes about just like Jesus and everything was just what I was thinking about. Because what else could cause it? And I thought, well, maybe it's God and, he can harden your heart. Maybe the Lord's hardening your heart and you're just trying to do everything that you think is what you're supposed to. Is it hardening my heart? Is it, and that makes you even think about it more and not, so I didn't go into finish in the ministry. But anyway, I was talking about informed consent, but literally all these years, and it wasn't until on the internet and having to learn to walk again out of falling out the window. And nobody had told me, but I thank God for Ella Free and Dr. Matt, because one of the big things every hour, just like, Lord, what is this? Why can't I? The feelings, the emotions, with this constant side pain. And I just thought, well, what is it? Why can't I I hope you can heal it, but I need to know what it is. And then I found out from Project Soul Catcher on 220, see, is it 227? 227. This was done on purpose. They knowingly did this to people just to see what happens. 227, 228. This is what the conservative Christians in Dallas thought was a great idea. 228. One of the things is sirens lure listeners to their death. They need to know the truth is the lure. They have scripts, trickery scripts like just take your medicine. Number 5, psychological vampires. Sucks the life force out of a person. This is done by inducing long-term dread, loss of hope, and a breakdown of the human spirit. It is the ultimate purpose of all brainwashing and enhanced interrogation techniques. And that's what it is. It is page 228. They talk about Medusa, sirens, psychological vampires. It sucks the life force out of a person. This is done by induced long-term dread, loss of hope, and the breakdown of the human spirit. And when I studied theology, it's like he must increase, I must decrease. This constant, not my will, but thine be done. Using religion to strip the heart and the will and the spirit of a person. Using the very Christianity that oftentimes in the TI program, they try to bring you back to Christianity, which it becomes a negative type of Christianity. It becomes almost the imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. It's this constant masochism. The whole life of Christ was a cross. This I just opened up to something. The whole life of Christ was a cross and a martyrdom. And dost thou seek for thyself rest and joy? For this whole mortal life is full of miseries and marked everywhere with cross. I mean, this is just, you can turn to anything. Daily if thou art his companion in suffering, thou also will be his companion in glory. Thee upon the cross, and thou mayest also bear thy cross and love to die on the cross. And just like this masochism of breaking down the person. If you don't believe me, next to the Bible, in the history of the world, The Imitation of Christ, was the most popular book in the history of Christianity before the internet. This was the daily devotional. I think it was, Thomas à Kempis, the 13th century, I believe. And he was a Catholic monk, I forget which order, but it was also in Protestantism. It was such an orthodox, well-received that it still became the top-selling Christian daily devotional on how a Christian should live their life. And if you just read it, it's a daily thing of masochism, of love to pick up the cross, holiness, beat myself down, no suffer no pride to dwell within thee, and just constant self-belittling. And the good thing is that there are wonderful Christian people that are in the TI community that try to use a more positive, I would say Robert Schuller, even Joel Osteen type of Christianity, because they will use will use religious scripts to use Christianity in a negative way to beat you down. And I think that they will use in the towns, like when you come from a conservative Christian town, like I do in Dallas, very conservative Christian, evangelical, lots of Protestants and some Catholics. But I think they use this, not only money to get these people and a bad story that you're a bad person, they will say something like you're not a good Christian, or you're this of a different religion, or you're Bible bashing, or it's anything, or child molester, bank robber, who knows what they say, and make them think that they're doing it to win you back to the Lord. Or it's like, what if you've always already been religious and studied apology? And it's just anything to get these people. And if they're conservative anyway, they have a tendency to be pro-police, pro-right-wing, pro-law and authority, and not think that the police would do something like this. Like me, I didn't think that. I never had a problem with police. I thought the ones in the town, all of them, I thought they were probably okay. I thought City Hall was pretty okay. I just knew I studied a lot of theology. I worked as a CNA, and I was always in pain on my side. And I was thankful I had pain meds. I never, from 30 years, ever thought that they would intentionally ever have done this to me on purpose, knowingly doing this to me on purpose. And then I realized, like Francis Collins, allowing those preemies to be tortured in their state until they die. That is what Christianity today has become. And nobody is out. I mean, some ethicists are out there, but it's just, they're shutting up about it. I mean, when somebody as likable as Francis Collins, or at first what we thought was a Fauci, or all these, can just get paid money and allow babies to be allow humans, period, to be tortured, and doctors or City Hall or police, the people that you think you can go to get help, that will tell you the truth and will help you if you need it. Instead, I mean, I'm thankful, very thankful they gave me medicine, but it's like, I shouldn't have gone through the pain for all those years in the first place. And neither should other TIs. We shouldn't have gone through this shit for 1 year, not for 4 years, not for 5, not for 10, not for 20, not for 35 or 36 years. And then they do it on purpose. They actually call the program Project Satan, Silent Assassination Through Advanced Neurons, or I think Brian too has something about it. But they got weird names that they name it after gods, like Christ, Christ, has a term for it. Gabriel has a mnemonic to help, a term for it. Satan again. But it's all these little things to see, psychological, to get you to do something, to screw your life up, to die. And I don't know if they get life insurance. I don't know. If they'll do it for money, of course. I know one thing. I don't think the Fusion Center likes what I put out, because I don't really get people, except maybe from the Fusion Center, that pretend to be TIs that will say, "Hi, Alan," and then it's just like, I went into a TI chat and I didn't even write anything, and I heard somebody in the chat whisper, "Alan Nielsen's here." Yeah. And then I went to another chat, and a few days later, and I won't tell you who, where, what chat. It's just they started writing. It's like, why are we doing this? How does this actually help real TIs? And they were like, one of the persons was saying, well, it does something, or it does for information or disinformation. Like, so that it's like they do that. We already knew that they enter, but literally when it's a big percentage of them in there, we already knew a lot of them were, but they're trying to make you look dumb. I remember when they're screwing with my TV. They do that too. They my video game, my Xbox, my computer off. They hit me in the, constantly. But I don't get a lot of emotional ups and downs. So I would love to try ketamine because 35, 36 years of this. And that's supposed to repair your brain and your heart where you can, the emotions. But, it's just like, the good thing is with that, I don't really care what opinion a person is, whether conservative or liberal. I can respect people on both sides. But that McCarthy, that was just the Speaker of the House, he said he's promising to open another Frank Church meeting to expose the FBI and our intelligence services, the CIA, and not just for the stuff they have, some of the stuff, but I hope it is like a Frank Church meeting. I hope that Derek Robinson, I hope Frank Allen, and I hope Ella Free, Dr. I just hope other TIs, real TIs, can finally get out there, like in Washington in 2011 and 2012 with the bioethics. And then it became such a huge problem for the government that they had to blame it on Havana, Cuba, the very place where informed consent, because of yellow fever, that's where it started, was with Walter Reed feeling maybe bad about 100, 200,000 soldiers going through an experiment and didn't tell him about all what could happen to them. They did die and suffer. So how about informed consent now on? And of course, his dad was a minister, missionary, his brother. And it's like, it is really depressing when you hear all these conservative religious people. Richard Helms was evidently a devout Catholic, the head of the CIA. Knowingly being a part. I know when it comes to politics, people use religion, they claim to be something, and do the worst possible evil shit to people who have done nothing wrong to anybody. And they'd find those people because they'll think, well, maybe they won't hurt it. They'll just kill themselves, and then we can find out. We can get information like a premature dying baby. They can breathe their last breath, and we can be there to watch it and see how many times it takes them to breathe in and out a little premature baby. We can find out and not tell the parents either. And we can have a big laugh at it. Just like the police in Dallas, the police in Salem have a big laugh. I wonder if they laugh at premature babies dying, taking their last breath. I wouldn't be surprised. I really don't. And they probably go to church too. But this is where we're at. I put some notes here, but it's like there's history of whether it's Tuskegee Airmen giving this syphilis to Tuskegee Airmen that are in the military. They were doing this to Guatemalans. There were girls in the 1930s in Iowa that were given oatmeal with radioactive isotopes or whatever, radioactive material in the oatmeal. And Quaker Oats heard about it, and they volunteered their oatmeal to be part of it. The guy that looks like Ben Franklin on it anyway. So they were called the radium girls. And I just remember Bill Clinton in 95 admitting how the government used to do this. First, there was the Frank Church CIA exposed, and then Richard Helms knew this was coming because some of the paperwork was found. So then he tried to set the paperwork on fire to get rid of the evidence, just like Richard Nixon. Again, a very religious Quaker, friends with Billy Graham for decades. Now, I liked Billy Graham, but it's like, I remember listening to Kissinger and Nixon talk about, let's lift up the dike so that we can flood those people. Maybe that'll kill 400,000 of those people. But he's a Quaker. And it's like, Kissinger, of all people, was saying, oh, we shouldn't do that. You'll end up looking like a monster. And Nixon on the tape was like, well, I don't care, damn it. We need to do something big. We can't pussyfoot around. We need to do something big, damn it. I don't want to be small. And it's like killing one person is a tragedy. But when they can do it, that's the arrogance of these people. Killing 400,000, I think it's a great idea. Torturing a baby, a premature baby, and 1,300 of them, and not feel the need to even tell the parents. There is something wrong with these people. And I'm sure all of them will choose to be very religious. They might be invited on the 700 Club too. And I liked Pat Robertson, but it's just, when they can do something like this, get all the pastors to just, oh, it's an honor to have you here. It's great to, so, all these, and the people that are needing the help from their doctors, from the police, they're going along with the program. If they can do it in Dallas, Oregon, and Salem is more liberal, but Dallas, a conservative, religious, drain the swamp town. I'm telling you, I say this because I deal with the relationship of Christianity, because maybe it's because, like Robert Duncan was saying, they give you this, and I thought about religion all the time. I think they hit a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, which is responsible for OCD. And they keep hitting it, and that's what causes, whether through guilt or manipulation, it causes the repetition of thought, which is these scripts. So that's how I view it, through the lens of right, wrong, religion, and the people's, anyway, you know what I think. You know what I mean. Anyway, 227, just realize and be angry. I think it's great. The one thing that I'm glad is I spent 30 years wanting to know the truth, believing all these people in my town were wonderful, and I was thankful for them. And the shock in finding out that I had to spend since 15 since I was 15 on the operating table for a broken arm during football at Dallas Hospital, and to wake up in a few months starting this pain, and now to realize I was then and still now am a guinea pig for these directed energy weapons. And now with V2K, that's one thing good with V2K. At least I finally found out what was happening to me. I didn't know. I just knew somebody was putting these weird sounds like a radio under the floorboards or next door or something, but I could hear them. I didn't know I was part of a government. Anyway, I can hear V2K now. They're saying, see, doesn't no change. There's no change of mine. They're trying to see how far I am from being internally, dead, emotionally, no fluctuation. And of course, the people of Dallas and the religious people of Dallas, they're waiting for their paycheck. Can you imagine being a pro-life town and it's going to come out? I mean, the Havana syndrome, that's out there because of the pressure on the government. But it's going, I can hear that guy saying, when's he going to quit? He just won't go down. He won't stop. He won't go down. It's just, I'm a job creator. If it wasn't for me, I'm a job creator. How about that? Yeah. Well, I don't like being I'd rather not be a job creator. Anyway, I hope Kevin McCarthy actually does another Frank Church group, and calls the CIA and the FBI and Fauci and Collins and grills them. And our arrogant leaders, we're at a stage where they don't even feel the need to apologize for evil shit. So I don't want them just to apologize. Unless, whether 2008, the banks, unless somebody powerful goes to prison, and I mean lots of them, researchers goes to prison, you know, they always talk, hi Herbert, they always talk about us in the third person. It's never directly to us, it seems. Oh, they do. They talk third person, but they talk to me just straight up. It's like, what are we going to do with you, Alan? I mean, V2K started for me around 20, people holding up the phones and that kind of thing too. The gang stalking, 2015, 2016. But now it's just, I think they're bored to tears. And sometimes I get a little Stockholm syndrome because I even feel bad for him because it's, I hate him, but I'm also weirdly thankful because without them, I didn't know for 30 years. I just knew I was in pain and I wanted to know what it was. Why was I constantly in pain? And because of V2K, I looked on internet and went to the rally in Portland, Free, and I realized, oh, this is a real thing. Other people are going through it, targeted individuals. Mine started in 2009, but the V2K really ramped up around 2017. Yeah. 2017, that's when I was in the hospital. I almost did end it all. And fell out the window, broke my arms when I landed, and ran my right leg, and was in Salem Hospital. And then I woke up, and then with some months after walking around, and then suddenly I've got the head voice to skull, not just under the floorboards. It's the head voice to skull, and then the shocks where it just shocks like that. And it's really mind-blowing to know that they actually do this. And of course, a lot of this was synonymous with Havana syndrome happening at the same time. But I don't know why, but a lot of this and the Havana syndrome, that was happening every month, every 2 months. What was funny, I live in Salem, and they were doing that thing about that murder guy in Idaho, and they were saying for a while that they thought he had went from, anyway, that's another story, but I wonder if he was one of those V2K, because they kept on saying that he was a targeted killing, that he was targeting them, and just like, is he like James Holmes? Was he a V2, was he a TI? Was he like, Myron May? Or anyway, the pressure is really building. It's 36 years now, going on 37. I was 15, and when I had my operation and stuff started, but I didn't have V2K until 2015, 2016. And I went to the rally, and Ella Free and Dr. Matt and Meigs, but a lot of the people that I started watching on the internet, Next Level, Vulcan, they left the scene. They're not doing the same videos. I'm thinking, I know it gets boring, but it's like, why can't you do the same once a month or something? I don't know. Maybe they do it on other sites, and that could very well be. I know I haven't seen anything from Catherine Horton so it makes you wonder. And then something always happens with, people in these chat rooms where they stage arguments with fights with other TIs. Some of it might be real, but I literally, some of it is just, I think a lot of it's just staged. Ones that are fake go in there and start a fight with other ones that are fake, that are just perps. But it's hard to say too, because sometimes I think that they will pretend. One time they put my name in a chat, and I was sleeping, and they put and then my computer was on, I think, Brian 2's, and they had put my name in a chat, saying something derogatory about like go to the gym or something like that, or just something dumb like that. And it was, I knew, I just woke up and I saw it on there, and it was just like, I didn't write. I don't think I ever written to him, or maybe I have, but I know I wouldn't write something rude, or even, I knew it wasn't me anyway. So sometimes they do write things. But Vulcan still posts videos, but not, yeah, he doesn't do the live streams. He did one a couple days ago around New Year's, and he did one about 2 months before that. So I was happy to see that. Really happy, because he was very helpful and just inspirational. And then I liked Sherry's reviews. Anyway, I know that they had the thing that helped. I don't know about James Lyko. I haven't seen anything from him in a while. So it just really, they had Targeted America, they had Targeted Justice, PAX International, which is really good. They still put out. They had a Targeted Individual TITV interview with Dr. John Hall, and that was really good. And I have his book on his ebook. I got a lot of ebooks, so. Anyway, it's hard because a lot of times, hey, is that Stacy? Hi. Hello, Stacy. Oh, I read your thing. I didn't even see Stacy. I remember. Yeah. Yeah, his targeting is really bad right now. I was watching part of a thing just a couple weeks. No, it's like New Year's, Christmas. But I was just glad to see him. Just, I guess he's in like New Orleans, Louisiana, and they have the most screwed up weather with all their flooding and all that stuff going on. So, but, and then you got the most targeted citizen. And then you got, targeted individual. I forget his name. He's got a beard, but he's always like, yeah, man, Kevin Christian, I think. Yeah. They got staples that are in the TI community that go on there that give us a little encouragement. And I think New Breed and used to be Next Level. I haven't seen him in a long time. But I'm glad when they do. I think gang stalking awareness. He's kind of, I want to say Viola Serb or something. The Battle for Your Mind. It's a good book. You can get it for like $3 on ebooks, and it's really well done. It gets that one's good. Roseanne Schneider's book is very helpful, and you can get them in ebooks, and they're very helpful. It's got the technical stuff. There's one that's about the targeted thing about Idaho, about fusion centers in Idaho. And that's surprisingly pretty good too. The one that I am trying to find is ones on shielding. I've tried different TENS units to block some people. I think Kyle has done magnets. I've tried magnets. But it's just they've been hitting the same area. And when I would meditate or pray very intensely, sometimes I can get it to move. But it's like some part of it moves, and they hit that low frequency on the heart to where it's like a constant stress going bzzz, it's like it's always like this at a low intensity. But when you're only used to that, you don't know what it's like to have it just not be there. I've had it stop maybe 4 or 5 times for a few hours each time. And just to know, it's like, oh, wow, they were able to stop it just like that for a few hours. And, of course, you'd believe like, oh, yeah, prayer or just, thank you, God, whatever it is that stopped it, can I repeat it? And then a few hours later, it just comes right back. And it made me realize it literally is something they can stop right then and there, but they've been doing 36 years now, and it's about 5 times where they've just stopped for no reason. And it felt wonderful, but it made me realize they could stop it. And all these people that I was raised with in Dallas that knew about it, and now in Salem, gang stalking. And I do think some neighbors are part of it. I don't think it's just I like my neighbors, so I'm pretty fortunate here, but in Dallas, it was definitely, there's some people involved, it just is. And definitely police. I actually was reading a book that believed it was aliens, which if they believe it's aliens caused, but he even said it was part of, it wasn't our government. And it's like, no, it really is our government. Havana syndrome wasn't caused by aliens. It was caused by our government, and that's an alibi. They're trying to blame it on Cuba, blame it on Russia, China, but it was mainly American FBI people, American CIA people that were getting hit. 2 Canadians or 3 or 4 Canadians, but mainly only Americans. So let's see. PAX store has this machine. Yeah, reportedly helps a lot, but it's 3,000. It was like 3,500. Yeah, Dave Rubel or his machine. Yeah, a lot of people. I'm thinking about nothing like that, but that'd be wonderful. I think about the 30 some odd years, 36 years of money I've spent when I was working just to get OxyContin. I had an insurance, and so that was lucky. It was only $30, but sometimes because it was Oxy, it didn't work. I mean, this pain meds, like I live in Oregon, and the good thing is in Oregon, if a person needs to get pain meds, or even if they have an addiction problem, everything is decriminalized here. And now this year you can even get ketamine, MDMA. It's all legal. I mean, it's not, you can't just go to the supermarket and buy it, but it's all legal. It's decriminalized to where you don't go to jail or prison or nothing like that. It's in Oregon, Oakland, California, and Colorado. These things are have now become decriminalized. In all of Oregon, it is too. All drugs, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin. If you have it, you don't go to prison. We're like the new Netherlands. So whatever it was, that country that everybody went to. Let's see, Stacy, I actually sleep in the basement where I thought I'd be safe. They can still move my limbs when I try to sleep and target me there. Yeah, even cell phone reception isn't good. Yeah, they have those things you can put on phones, but I've never tried them, so I don't know if they. A friend of mine said he has one and it works, but I'm still unsure about it and who has that kind of money. Yeah, just 3,000 just to. Which is funny because I spent 8 years working 2 full-time jobs. And then I always had to help my brother out. That's another story. They get through everything. It's impossible to block. See, that's what I don't. I've heard about different. I ordered some of those different fabrics. Some people in different books talk about different types of metals or crystals. See, mine started around 1986, 87. When I started getting this stuff, and I was just taking OxyContin. That was about when I was 28, so that was about 98, 99. But so I didn't know what caused it. I certainly didn't think. I thought maybe somebody screwed up my operation and hit something, but I certainly didn't think about microwaves or my doctor or the government was after me. I didn't have any enemies and nobody hated me. I never hurt anybody. So it's like to find out I'm a guinea pig, you're going through the same thing. So she has one. A friend of mine said she has one that works, but I'm still unsure about it and who has, that kind of money. They get around different frequencies. That's what they do. If they do have another Frank Church meeting like in 1975, where the FBI and CIA found out what the CIA was doing, MK Ultra, Mockingbird, MK, Operation Northwoods, all that weird shit. The guy, the head of the CIA, tried to burn a bunch of the papers, but a lot of it they found. So, but with Havana syndrome, it's obviously such a huge thing that they went 4 years talking about it every couple months. Every couple months, somebody from Kamala Harris's team or the CIA, and it's just such an embarrassment. It's like, it's getting our own people. It's hitting our own intelligence people. Oh, those fuckers in Russia and China. Ooh, we're going to find out. We're going to come and get you. And then finally, the CIA guy gave a 60 Minutes interview. And after that, he was Leslie Stahl. And he says, yeah, well, now we know it's not a foreign government. It's not a foreign government doing it. And you think, well, that's a great opening. She should say, well, that means if it's not a foreign government, that means it's our own government, right? But she didn't ask it. If it's not a foreign government, then who is it? You know? So it's his indirect way of saying, yeah, we did it and we don't know how to get out of it. It's like the Iraq War. They started it and they don't know how to get out of it without looking cruel and stupid at the same time. So, yeah, that's all. Yeah, it is. It's like to not have an answer, that was way more depressing. To not have an answer. I was in high school and in Bible college, and all that time it hit me. I'd be studying Old Testament, survey the life of Christ, anything, and that stuff would hit me. And interning at a church in Iowa, and it was just I quit that after 3 years and became a nursing home CNA, laundry worker for 10 years, and then a CNA. But it was just like, yeah, I was glad. But to go all that time and being on pain meds and having to, and not even think that I was I was a guinea pig. I believed all the people in my little religious town were very good people, didn't have any enemies. I was most friendliest in my high school, class of 89, most likely to teach scientific creationism. And yeah, and I don't mind using for all that talk about religion, but I'll call them fuckers, man, because these are evil bastards. And and then to find out they're all religious, and then just like, really? Oh. So it's really, there's wonderful, good people of faith. And I'm the first one to say that. And those are the wonderful people. It's just the people that you thought in your own town, and the Salem police and Dallas police and City Hall and people I didn't even know any of these people, but I guess they get a paycheck for it. And this is while they're chanting, drain that swamp, and the people in my hometown were the biggest swamp people there was. Of all the things to be swampy, it's one thing to take a bribe. It's one thing to overcharge somebody, but to take money from the government to torture someone to death in the hopes that they kill themselves, to someone who never hurt anybody, to innocent people, like that guy Francis Collins being part of that study of taking premature babies, and just for a study to see which ones can last the longest on small amounts of oxygen, not tell the parents, and it's just like, yeah, look it up. Just, bad experiments, NIH, National Institutes of Health, bad experiments, whatever. But people that you think in public that are good, and then you find out, oh, these people, no wonder they get paid so much money. They do so much shit they have to cover up. And they have to find somebody to keep quiet and still keep doing more evil and on more innocent people. And it's just a nightmare that they don't know how to get out of. So it's just, the good thing is, whenever I get down, whenever I get thinking about it, depressed, I'm glad I have the answer. I'm glad I finally have the answer. And Havana syndrome. Everybody and their mom has heard of Havana syndrome. I can't imagine Harlan Gerard or the people that were TIs like Gloria Naylor, who wrote 1996 about her going through this. They had to go through this before Havana syndrome, and people just looked at him like, "Oh, you're nuts," just, "Oh, come on, our government wouldn't do it." It's like after Havana syndrome, everybody, oh yeah, because it was on so much, and it makes you wonder why. Why would the government keep putting this out there in the news? um, every night, because they can squash a story or pump it up, and they kept coming out with it, and they just kept coming out with another group, another at the White House, another story, and it's just like, oh, it's that big, and they're trying to blame it on Cuba, China, Russia. It's hitting our intelligence people, and so they got to blame it on. I know they don't claim. I don't know. I think they left a little wiggle room by being hit with dues, pulse energy, but they're trying to leave the V2K for the TIs so that they can say, oh, they're, yeah, well, we don't have that. We don't have, they hear things. They hear the crickets. They hear this. They're trying to blame it on crickets. But anyway, let's see. The ones assigned to me told me they are Luciferians. They are incredibly, yeah. I don't know what they are. I've heard about that. They're Freemasons. The Satanist. I know my own little town, and my little town is made up mainly of Protestants, and I know they're evil, but they're capitalists. They're greedy. They're just people that watch a lot of Fox News, and they're greedy. But if the people found out it was them, then that would hurt their witness or their testimony because they go to church. So they'll say it's Freemasons and Satanists. So they can make it sound spiritual. We want to bring this person we're targeting to church, make them religious, closer to the Lord. So that's why we're doing it. They don't tell the rest of them, no, we get a lot of money for doing this to torture innocent people. And let's blame it on Freemasons and the Satanists, and maybe we can put religion in there, and that'll be, we can try to make it sound good, like they're going to become religious after this. And it's like torturing babies, like during that. It's just horrible. And I say this as a person who studied to be an Assembly of God minister, and still believe in God and the soul. Free will proves there's a soul and life after death and everything. So convinced of those things. So let's see. I have some evil V2K. Yeah, demons. I remember, Stacy. You had that one where you're reading off what they're saying. One or two videos where and that was good. That was really helpful. Who knows what the hell it all means? It gets more confusing the deeper I go down the hole. A lot of rabbit hole stuff. These years, a lot of everything about rabbit holes and narcissism. Narcissists. I really question who they are sometimes. I can't understand how a human could do this. They very well may be demons in the flesh. Yeah, I'm questioning reality and the illusion. Yeah, it's a lot of weird, freaky people. And a lot of times it's just fusion people that are, it's weird. It's like, look out for Charlie. Guy knows so much more about technology than I could ever dream to. So, but with Havana syndrome, and people know about that, and with the White House bioethics, that was a big one. Having all those TIs speak out in front of the third lady next to the guy was Anthony Fauci's wife, Dr. Christine Grady. She was in charge of finding subjects to experiment on in a moral, humane way. And of course, her husband being Fauci, we know how they can cover up and lie. They're used to it. He's the most highly paid person in the government because he knows how to do experiments, knows where the bodies are buried, and be close-lipped about it. But I know with Havana syndrome, everybody has heard about it. People have heard about pulse microwave energy. And that's a huge door open. That's a huge foothold. And hopefully with Kevin McCarthy, and I don't care if it's conservative or liberal, Republican, Democrat, I just hope there's another Frank Church meeting. And that on Tucker Carlson, Tucker was saying McCarthy was promising that. An investigation into the FBI and CIA. So that's to hear that, I was like, holy shit. Thank you, Lord. And yeah. So it could be very soon. So Anyway, I always make my mom some dinner, and I just got to put something in the microwave before she gets here. So they work all the time. Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving. It is. I'll probably be on in a few days. I would try some of those books I mentioned, Roseanne Schneider's, or just think of some books that you like, or some good websites, TI websites that you like to look at. So anyone maybe I haven't heard of. So all right, I'll talk to you guys in a few days or whenever I see you. Okay, it's great to see you guys. Okay, you guys take care. Okay, night, night, guys.